People have become more prudish about sex on screen and are increasingly turned off by violence. That's according to the latest research by Britain's film censor, the British Board of Film Classification. Today, it's said it would be taking a more cautious approach to classifying sex scenes and would be recommending stricter age ratings. Joining me now to discuss this is film critic and journalist Jason Solomons. Jason, how lovely to have you on the show. Good afternoon to you. Are you surprised by this? Because it's 2024 and, you know, most people have access to whatever it is they could possibly imagine and well beyond it on their telephones.
You'd have thought we'd be getting less restrictive, wouldn't you? More libertarian.
Yes.
But I think that people are responding, you know, well, if I wasn't a parent, then I would agree. But then when you suddenly have teenage boys like I do, you do start to worry about what they're seeing and how they behave and what they're learning. As you say, you've got access to so much stuff that isn't cinema on, let's say, social media, TikTok, whatever. Yeah. And the attitudes to women in particular, I find some of them quite disturbing. So we look to our storytellers, our big screen storytellers, to perhaps give us some instruction. And the guidance from the BBFC is far from nanny state, actually. I was quite impressed by the way that they've had I think they sampled about 12,000 voices. And this is the message that's coming back, not just from parents, but from young people themselves. So they do need some guidance. What we've got so libertarian that there's no guidance at all. And these are classification guidelines. I have the new book here. I feel like Neville Chamberlain here, but I do have it here. And there's so much out there that I think the big screen can take a big lead in the morality and the way that we shape our attitudes, rather than morals, our attitudes towards each other in the years to come.
I mean, one of the things we hear a great deal these days, Jason, is that people don't get their television feed from television anymore. They get their news usually on the phone, usually on the hoof, from all different sources. And I wonder whether the same thing applies to young people going to the cinema at all. Maybe they don't go, it's expensive, it involves leaving the house, which lots of them don't seem to be very happy doing. So you wonder whether this is kind of increasingly kind of theoretical and academic and actually won't really apply to anyone because they'll get whatever porn they want to watch on their phones. They won't need to pay to go to a cinema and have the film board censor them, will they?
Well, let's hope that they don't just do that, because of course they don't have to view the content in the cinema. These ratings, they apply to television, they apply to home entertainment, the DVDs, but they also apply to the streamers, your Netflixes and your Amazons. They take the BBFC's guidelines, and they revealed today that they're also working with all the major network providers. Your Vodafones, your EEs, and other networks are available. I just can't remember them, and they're all using this sort of very clear and rather famous UPG 12A 15 and 18 classification rating that has become so familiar. And I think people are, I run a film festival, for example, a Green Man festival, and I just used to put the films on and sort of went by timings. But parents kept asking me, so, you know, we need to put the ratings of the film on there, even though we're not in a sort of necessarily within the classification system there, because it's a private festival. But the parents really need to know how to guide their children and whether they should take their children to it or be with them or leave them to their own devices, literally these days.
I mean, we remember clearly, don't we, the controversy when the late Princess Diana was found to have taken Princes William and Harry to the thoroughly enjoyable and utterly beguiling film starring Robin Williams of Mrs. Doubtfire. Do you remember? And I can't remember what the ratings were, but they were much younger than the ratings suggested. And people tried to get very offended and upset about that. But then lots of other people tried to squeeze their children in to see the film as well because it was so adorable. I mean, it really... Do you remember that fuss and bother about Mrs. Doubtfire?
I do, at her famous at her Odeon Kensington, her famous local, which is no longer there.
Exactly.
Sadly. I do remember that, and it is something you think, well, you know, what Mary Poppins is the most famous example. You'll remember recently that's been resubmitted for its 60th anniversary cinema, and the BBFC raised the classification from its famous U to a PG because of a film with a scene with the kids and the chimney sweeps to come out and were dancing in their sootened up faces, and I think it's the captain of the ship over the road sort of calls them Hottentots.
Yes.
Now, we're viewing it through a modern lens. This was deemed very offensive to some audiences. So it was raised that parents should be there for their children, not to guide them through, but to talk about this, perhaps, if anyone felt that was necessary. So are they being overprotective, or are they signaling certain areas that need to be addressed? I think maybe that was a bit of an overthink. But when you watch the scenes again, as I have recently, you do think, oh God, that's a bit harsh. That's a bit unnecessary. You can't cut the whole thing. You don't want to cut that scene. But really, it feels very offensive now.
Really, just one line from you, because we're running out of time, Jason, on the suggestion that Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to be the new James Bond.
Yeah, well, one of the things they found in James Bond, that the BBFC have upped the rating of From Russia to Russia with Love, because of the train fight at the end was a bit violent. James Bond gets hit in the ghoulies. So they've kind of raised that violence to a bit. So whether this new iteration of Bond will be more violent, how it will be. Look, I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is a very good actor. He's been at this business a very long time. He's been a front runner for a long time. So I can't get any confirmation from Bond whether this is true or not, that he's been offered the role. We never find out from the Bond people until they do the big reveal, that they lift the tarpaulin off the car and the Bond at the same time. So my feeling is that he's right in the right sweet spot. He's 33 years old. And if you're going to do Bond, you're going to do him for 3, 4, 5 films. He's got that in him. He's got that charm. I think he's a really sort of hunky actor.
I've got on the word hunky. I've got to stop you in your tracks, Jason. Thank you so much. Lovely to have you on board. Thank you, my love.